You are the man of the hour. As I understand it, when the number was first found, but not for sure, it was found on one computer as a probable Mersenne Prime. Is that right?
Right. So the way that the GIMPS project works, at least in recent years, is they switched to a probable primality test using Fermat's test. They were able to add some proofing mechanisms to that test so that rather than in older days, they would run every Lucas-Lemmer test on an exponent twice to confirm that that exponent is really not prime. The new technology they invented really accelerates, you test this exponent one time, and after that, you basically know for sure that it's not prime, or in this very exceptional case, prime. So as soon as I saw the Fermat probable prime test return, I went out and rented an H100 and threw it on there for a Lucas-Lemmer test.
So that gap between probable, very probable, and absolute, what was that like? Was that like an exciting? Was that like exciting? I can't do this fast enough, or were you just, oh, I'll do it next week when I get time? Or tell me how you were feeling at that point.
Uh, it was a little complicated, actually. So, seeing the probable prime result itself, I was pretty confident that was prime. One of my motivations for putting so much into this project was I saw the tremendous technology that the GIMPS community put into this proof program, this primality test, and I understood their math, at least in a general sense, that if this test said it was prime, it's very, very likely to be prime. No number has ever been discovered that passes one and not the other. Some of the more theoretical mathematicians are more interested in that happening because it's such an exceptional thing. But when I saw the result, I just I never actually trust my scripting reporting mechanisms, so I have a secondary script that I periodically kicked off to have it go tell me if it found anything in my logs, and it popped up one right there. But I was kind of literally in the middle of packing to visit Alabama, so I was a little bit scattered while moving that over to a Hopper system for a fully proof Lucas-Lemmer test.
When you'd run the second test and all doubt was gone, what did that feel like? You seem to me speaking to you like a guy who's pretty calm and doesn't get particularly excited. Were you jumping off the walls, or what was going on?
I was actually waiting outside the San Jose Security Airport line, the TSA check-in, when I was logging in to check my result, because I knew it would show up right about then. Saw the primality, sent it in, and got in the security line. I was maybe less excited than I could have been because travel is always a bit of a strain, so it was kind of a lot going on.
Yeah, it's a bummer that it had to be in an airport queue. They're the worst places in the world.
Right. Well, take the result and whatever the circumstances.
Tell me, like this, the number, like a bit over 136 million, which is the exponent, obviously not the whole
Yep.
prime. It seems like in the scheme of things, it seems like quite a low number, and it was just hanging there, waiting for someone to find it. Like, what does that mean? That's like a magical feeling, isn't it? That it was just there all that time.
Yeah, it was some of my interest in the project. There's no sort of external source of truth on it. You find the result and you have it. You don't, as appreciative as I am of everyone's double checking efforts, I had the result. I knew it. It was unique in the world at that time. It's fairly special.
Tell me why you got involved with the project in the first place. I know you've put a bit of time and effort into this.
Um, it's a long story that I'm never totally sure my approach on. Um, my interest coming out of computing was sort of leaning into physics. The more I looked at the long-term directions of computing, the more I'm like, this has to be, there have to be some physics developments to, keep getting, past Moore's law in 30 years or whenever, our runway starts running out on computing. So, let me go study some physics for a bit. I studied physics for a while, and the longer I studied physics, the more I'm like, everyone's saying, information is preserved in the universe. Information is sort of a first principle, first tenet of how, physics and physics equations work. And, I was significantly finding I just didn't really have the math background to seriously approach physics like I wanted. So, okay, I'll take a step back and go work on math for a while. And, the Mersenne primes always caught my eye, in and of themselves because they're so close to computing powers of two, etc. And I kind of sort of converged around it's a, physicists keep talking about, information in the universe being an important, first principle. So let me go try to find a new, unique piece of big information and, see if that helps me, helps guide my thinking about large numbers. The more I've thought about these, extraordinarily sized numbers, this 41 million digit prime, compared to infinity, it's still zero, right? As large as this number is, we've still, just barely scratched the surface of, the math sphere. So it was kind of I felt like I had kind of a unique background in understanding, GPUs and, the sort of rapid development and availability. So I sort of decided, let me, emphasize the things I kind of know and take a little bit less time on the math theory and physics theory that I'm so bad at, and see if I can pull something out of a hat in computing and go from there and see if there's interesting things down the line in theoretical math.
How do I describe you? I see, like, say you used to work at NVIDIA or something, or like,
At this point, just researcher.
you're a researcher.
It's hard to put a lot more to it. I went directly to NVIDIA out of my Caltech computer science undergrad. I actually did an internship on the CUDA team. And 2010 to 2021 or something, I was, developing CUDA architecture, CUDA chips, et cetera, and got too interested in first principles of math and science to really want a boss to guide what I was working on. So I, left, took a couple years, and, eventually had to form my own LLC to, sort of house a project of this size. But otherwise, it's ongoing research.
Just so I understand, because I think a lot of people associate GIMPs and things like that with everyone running a little computer in the corner of their office, and then maybe they're going to be the one who gets the lottery ticket. You made something bigger. You've done something a lot more elaborate than that, haven't you? Can you sort of summarize what you put together to help with the search?
Sure. So when I was first looking at the current GIMP status right about a year ago, actually almost exactly a year ago, my first result was October 28th or something, 2023. I was sort of looking at the leaderboard, of people who've submitted the most results. I was mostly seeing, okay, these results tend to be coming in on computers because the GeForce graphics cards don't have super fast double precision, which is, what the Mihai's GPU OWL software is particularly leaned on. And I was sort of looking at what everyone else is doing in GIMPs. And, as you were saying, I kind of saw everyone was treating it as basically a lottery ticket, put my computer into the mix and see if mine pops out. And I was seeing, one of the well-known Mersenne Prime hunters, Curtis Cooper's discovered 4 of them. He ganged together a bunch of computers at, forgive me if I get it wrong, but I believe the University of Central Missouri, there and, supported by their university infrastructure, power budget, et cetera. and he was, well in the top of the leaderboard for, first primality tests of the past year. I'd seen someone else had, tried to do a burst in the cloud to find one in years prior. But from a glance, it kind of looked like no one was really treating it as a race. It was just sort of put it into the bucket, see if it comes out eventually. And, I'm looking at it. It had been about the longest period of time ever since a new Mersenne Prime had been discovered, at least through the GIMPS program. And my background at my former employer was very much, if computing's too slow, throw some GPUs at it. So I, figured I have some budget, I have some interest. I'm gonna see if I can, basically do practical accelerated computing, throw my personal GPUs at it a little bit. Okay, I didn't find one within my patience, which is not as long as it might be. And basically kept redoubling, find what cloud GPUs were available. I shifted sort of through most of the major cloud providers over time, eventually converging on one or two that I could get the best price and availability and specs on. At some point, I had to form the Durable Science LLC company to have a sufficiently official home for the project. The big tech companies aren't super interested in selling compute resources at the scale I'm doing to private individuals. So put a company there to have some respectability.
Yeah.
And I just kept seeing more compute available, and at some point it was like, I have an opportunity to just throw together a huge system and see what happens. Let's see what happens. So it was actually pretty exciting to me to reach a scale of it's genuinely a global supercomputer put together in my office, and found a unique result. It's pretty fun.
It sounds like you've spent some money on this. Like this isn't just a hobby. You put some resources into this.
Yeah, I my my career was built on NVIDIA, and I don't really like managing my own money very much, so it sort of stayed in NVIDIA, and I kind of felt like it was sort of self-funding, really.
Well, it's probably pretty trivial to you, but I hear that you get a $3,000 reward for finding this Mersenne Prime. What are you going to do with that?
You're right. When I first was looking through the results, the project listings, I'm like, oh, I wonder if someone could spend 3,000 and get that out, because I didn't know the probabilities at the time, and I've since realized the 3,000 is not a lot compared to the necessary expenditure, and so I realized that the best place for the resulting GIMPS prize money would be to go back to my high school at the Alabama School of Math and Science. I genuinely wouldn't have made it out to California if it weren't for the base and platform that I got through, my fellow students and professors there.
Oh, that's great. So they're going to get the prize money to spend on what they want there at the school.
Definitely.
So I'm not doing my job as a journalist if I don't ask then. You
Of
told
course.
me $3,000 is not enough to find a Mersenne Prime these days. What do you
It
think a
is
Mersenne
very
Prime
hard.
costs these days? What does it cost to find a Mersenne Prime? Give me a number.
Um, Honestly, I stopped tracking carefully. I have it all so I can go recollect. I believe it's under 2 million.
Wow. That's dedication, man. That you've given something special to mathematics. Does it feel amazing? Does it feel like just another stamp in the stamp collection, or does this number feel special to you?
Um, this number feels special, but any project has its components that are important. The this one gets the headlines, but it's hard to rate this over the scope of work that went into putting the GPU platform together in the first place. And of course, I'm not taking the credit for that as a pinwheel in a storm at NVIDIA.
It sounds as though it's not just about the number, though. It's about sort of the new techniques and processes that are developed in finding the number.
Right, and that was really a lot of my motivation for frankly putting as much into the project as I did. I saw an incredibly talented set of scientists and engineers that put some remarkable new software and technology together in primality proving, large number multiplication, et cetera, and they didn't have big corporate support. So okay, I've had some ability to chip in. So see if I can emphasize and bring some light to some good work going on elsewhere in the world.
Chip in. I appreciate that pun, by the way. You mentioned to me that you're visiting your family at the moment. That's why I'm speaking to you, not in your normal office. Does your family appreciate something like this? Are you able to come home to them and say, hey guys, I've had a really big breakthrough in my work and let me tell you about it? Or is this kind of not their cup of tea?
They're pretty excited. My dad is a music professor at University of South Alabama, and he was possibly leaking the news to a couple of his math colleagues at a concert last week.
And tell me, what now? Are you gonna keep pouring the money in and try and find another one? Is this game over for you? What next?
At the moment, honestly, I felt a tiny bit bad about the disruption I caused on the Mersenne Prime wavefront. I sort of threw so much computing at it that it sort of made all of their backlog and double checking a little bit messy because I spread out the search so much. So right now I've shifted the computer to work on the double checking backlog for a little bit, which is their set of machines that, or it's the set of their experiments that they did Lucas Lemmer testing on, but they only got one failed result, this is not prime result. So I'm helping to go back through those at the moment, and hopefully, currently Mersenne Prime number 48 through 52. There may be other Mersenne Primes mixed in, so it's much less likely. But I'm helping to steamroll through that a little bit.
So that's kind of the less glamorous work, because more likely than not, you're just going to confirm the ones that aren't primes. You're not going to find a new shiny superstar.
Right.
So you've also found a new perfect number, I guess, haven't you?
It's pretty exciting. I have not gone and confirmed that all the divisors work out myself, but I will trust it.
Are you more excited about the Mersenne Prime or the perfect number? I know the two go hand in hand, of course.
I'm a little bit more excited about fewer day-to-day monitorings of my supercomputer. It's been a big ongoing monitoring project to keep it on the rails. On one hand, I've given a lot, but frankly, I'm well aware of how fortunate I am to still have gotten it. These numbers are extraordinarily rare at this size. So as hard as it has been, I'm grateful it hasn't been harder.
Over 41 million digits. Are you ever going to see all these digits? Are you ever going to print it out or look at it? Or is this a number you will never actually look at?
I did open the zipped 17, 18 megabyte file that's linked on the mersenne.org website and started trying to scroll it on my phone, and my hand got tired before I got too far. I think I saw some other video on the Mersenne Primes. I think there may be some company that's published a book of a couple of the recent ones, so I may or may not see it printed at some point.
There it is, there it is. This is the new world record. Look at that. That is 2 to the power of 74 million, 207,281 minus 1. These are the digits. Volume 2 of 3. So there's volume 3. And so there's another third. And finally here, I guess we should start at the beginning. This is, there you are, volume 1. Look at that. This is the new prime number. This is, we suspect we are, well, we're definitely the first people to have ever printed it out.